The Ballad of Mulan. Translated by Chinese William.
Sigh, 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 Mulan is weaving facing the door. The loom is quiet, the girl is not. What are you thinking about? What are you worrying about? A girl has nothing to think, nothing to worry. Saw the draft paper last night. The Lord is preparing to fight. Dozens of drafts, with father's name on each one. No grow-up son, no elderly brother. Wish to buy a horse and saddle, to take my father's place. Got the horse in the market of the east, got the saddle in the west. Got the headgear in the south, got the whip in the north. In the morning I say goodbye to my mom and dad. In the evening I took shelter on the yellow river bank. The nagging of the mom and dad is no more. What's left is the river's water tumbling nearby. In the morning I say goodbye to the river. In the evening I arrive at the black mountain top. The nagging of the mom and dad is no more. What's left is the enemy's horses neighing afar. Cross millions of miles, fly through all the forts. The cold air of the night accompanies the sound of the night watch. The cold light of the moon brings forth my armor shine. Hundreds of battles and tens of years. The general is dead and the soldiers are back. Back to see the Lord, sitting in his clean court. One by one, praised for their fight. The Lord asks her what you want. Mulan wants no position in court, but a horse that runs fast. Send me back, send me home. Mom and dad heard, welcome their girl out of town. Sister heard, put her makeup on. Little brother heard, a feast was on. Open my room door to the east, sit on my bed to the west. Release myself of my armor, and put on my old skirt. In front of my window, I comb my beautiful hair. In front of my mirror, I put on my makeup. I come out to greet my comrades in arms, who are very surprised. Dozens of years, side by side. Never noticed Mulan was a girl. Pick up a rabbit holding its ears. A buck will twitch its legs while a doe would winkle its eyes. If they walk side by side, how would you tell them apart?
There are not a lot of translation of classical Chinese literature. The older they are, the more difficult it is to understand. Even a Chinese native would struggle. As you may have noticed, I used a synthetic voice. I did my best to translate as accurate and as true as possible to the original ancient text, but my pronunciation is just not satisfying. There are other versions of translation out there that you can check out. The Ballad Mulan is a folk song first recorded in a ballad collection book back in the southern Qin dynasty in the 5th century and was later referenced in a book called The Musical Records of Old and New, a compilation of books and songs by the monk Zhejiang, in the southern Qin dynasty in the 6th century. The original ballad collection book is long gone. The song itself is most likely older. It is believed that the ballad was originally composed in the Northern Wei dynasty, year 386 to 535, and the war mentioned in the ballad is believed to be the Northern Wei's military campaigns against the nomadic Ruren. The author of the ballad is unknown. There is also no way to actually know if the story was real or a fiction. There are numerous works inspired directly and indirectly by this ballad, including the Disney version of Mulan. Mulan is the given name of the character. In the original ballad, there is no mentioning of the character's family name. The family name Hua, common associated with the character, is most likely added in later adaptations. Though the Disney animated movie Mulan brought a lot of attention to the character, the original ballad is a lot deeper than the movie. In the original ballad, there was no romance, no humanoid animals and no talking dragon. In its core, Mulan is about family. She chose to risk her life so her dad didn't have to. The Mulan in the original text is a common girl caught in a war that she did not start. Common soldiers die in harsh battlefield while the Lord, the Emperor sit comfortably in their fancy court. Lord or Emperor, it makes no difference to the common girl. The glory of the battle is for the lords. The common folk like Mulan just wanted to go home to her family. This is one of two main reasons that made this ballad so unique. Most ballads about war back then in China were written from the view of the generals who fought for glory or fought for loyalty to their lords. Few were written from the view of the common folk, the civilians. Even fewer were written from the view of a common soldier. This is the part that the Disney fairy tales tend to ignore. Disney movie-made war sounds fine and child-friendly. The real war is fought in harsh conditions with real death and usually don't end well for the common soldiers. The second reason that made this ballad unique is the feminism. This is the part Disney can talk about without getting into the blood and gore. During most of the period in ancient China, women were treated as properties. The period when this ballad was sung was also one of the best times for the women. During this period, women engaged in social activity more often than any other period but was still second-class citizen. That is also why it is so difficult to determine if the story was based on real person or not. The royal court usually keeps a record of everything that happens, but they are usually about the royals and the government officials. A common soldier who did not get an official position in court is unlikely to show up in most historical records. Being a woman would make it even more unlikely. Some female generals do show up in historical records. Due to the limitation of ancient time, those records may be slightly off sometimes. However, there was one female general in Chinese history who was heavily recorded and proven to be true by archaeologists. Her tomb was found and later excavated by archaeologists in 1975. The tomb belongs to a woman called Fu Hao from Shang dynasty who died at around 1200 BC. There is also the possibility that the name Fu Hao is her title instead of her real name. Her story was recorded in the official royal records back then. Her identity was confirmed through the ancient text etched on the ceremonial bronze buried with her. The text also confirmed that she was a general that fought in many battles and a respected religious leader. She was one of the wives or concubines of the king and was trusted and highly respected. Even after death the king would often visit her tomb to pray for good fortune for the kingdom. Among the bronze buried with her were 2 bronze axes. The wooden handles have rotten away but the bronze heads remained. One weighs 9 kilograms while the other weighed 8.5 kilo. Combined with handles, those 2 axes would each weigh over 10 kilograms. It is believed that they were her battle weapons. A scaled-down jade sculpture in the tomb also suggests that she was well over 175 centimeters tall, much taller than the average height back then. There is also the possibility that those axes are merely ceremonial. In either case, she would have to be a physically strong woman to be able to wield even one of these axes in battle or in religious ceremony. Unlike her, in the ballad, Mulan is not a royal, so she will unlikely have a tomb for the archaeologist to discover. However, if there was any truth in this ballad, then Mulan wouldn't just be any common girl. In the ballad, Mulan's father's name showed up in all the drafting papers, which seems to indicate that her father was a veteran and likely a highly achieved veteran. She can also afford to buy a horse, which would be well above the financial ability of the common folks back then. All signs seem to suggest that her father holds or used to hold a military position in the government. So, it is more than possible that there is record of her out there, we just didn't find it yet. Another possibility why we haven't found her in any historical record is that her given name Mulan is unlikely to show up in the record. Back then women were commonly referred to only using their family name. Also people who hold or used to hold position in the government and the military are most commonly referred to by their title and position out of respect. Also, I would like to thank Disney for telling the story of Mulan to the world, even if the story was heavily modified and the point of the story was missed to appeal to a younger audience. I am going to pretend the live-action Mulan movie doesn't exist. There is just so much wrong with the live-action Mulan movie that just don't appeal to anyone. It was as if the director never bothered to ask any Chinese culture specialist for help. That is another long story for another day.